The girl was roughly tied to a spinning wheel. The man stared at her with mocking amusement. Fear surged uncontrollably in her heart as the butler beside her revealed a chilling, sinister smile. The rules of this deadly game were simple. If she could stay silent, she might earn a chance to live. But if she made even the slightest sound, zombies and bloodthirsty snow wolves would be waiting for her. The girl's name was Lena. She had been running from mercenaries hunting her down. By accident, she stumbled into a forbidden, long-abandoned castle. There she witnessed the legendary vampire banquet. Several ghastly faces turned toward the living human and smiled wickedly. Lena rushed to open the door only to find it locked tight. Suddenly, a vampire lunged straight at her. Lena dodged swiftly and cleanly, unable to believe what she was seeing. This was the 21st century. How could vampires still exist? In that moment of crisis, she dashed upstairs, thinking that if there were any windows, she might escape this cursed place. But when she pushed open the heavy door, she froze at an unspeakable sight. Several maids were kneeling, begging a man for mercy. The man, clearly displeased at being interrupted, glared at her with murderous intent. "A human dares to trespass into my domain. Go. Kill her." Only then did Lena realize she had wandered into a vampire's forbidden ground, and had just interrupted the Blood King's game. The moment she drew her pistol, the Vampire King's eyes lit up with amusement. Lena aimed the gun straight at him and fired without hesitation, but the bullet was caught midair by his bare hand, leaving him unharmed. He licked his lips, a bloodthirsty grin spreading. "Interesting, human firearms have evolved this far?" With a flick of his wrist, he snatched the gun from her grasp, smirking. "You should have loaded it with silver bullets." Then, pressing the barrel against her forehead, he whispered coldly, "If you don't want to be eaten, become my plaything." Lena swallowed hard, her gaze darting toward the window behind her. Better to risk escape than take a bullet to the head. She bolted toward it, but that sudden movement enraged the Vampire King. Just as her fingers brushed the window frame, blue light flared from his hand, and in the next instant, an invisible force bound her tightly, suspending her helplessly in midair. His eyes gleamed with the hunger of a predator. "Join my game," he said coldly. "Win and I'll let you live." As he spoke, his breath brushed against her ear, low, dangerous, like a whisper meant to ensnare prey. Lena's heartbeat thundered in her chest, a chill ran down her spine, yet the crushing pressure of his presence made it hard to breathe. With a flick of his hand, an unseen force lifted her into the air, the icy aura coiled around her like a serpent. "This," he murmured, eyes gleaming with cruel amusement, "is a game of desire and will." Nearby, the maids watched tensely. The head maid called out sharply, "Lord Dwit, please return to your seat." The name struck Lena like lightning. Dwit? That was the monster who killed her father 15 years ago. She could hardly believe it. The man who had destroyed her family was standing right before her eyes. The Vampire King, seeing her hesitation, scoffed, "If you have nothing to say, throw her to the blood thralls." But Lena wasn't about to surrender. Her father's vengeance still burned within her. Forcing down her rage, she smiled alluringly. "My lord, don't kill me, that I can help you discipline these disobedient maids." DeWitt narrowed his eyes, his tone cold. "A moment ago you wanted to flee, now you offer yourself. Too sudden, suspicious." Sensing his doubt, Lena lowered her voice and whispered, "I only wish to be your obedient toy." His interest was piqued. Stepping closer, his hand brushed lightly against her collarbone as he murmured, "But your eyes tell me otherwise. You're not the obedient kind." Lena fought to keep her composure, forcing a faint smile. "A toy that obeys too easily loses all its charm, don't you think?" DeWitt chuckled darkly, clearly amused. "Very well then," he said softly. "Prove it, kneel." Before she could reply, the Vampire King pressed her head down with one hand, forcing her lower. Lena flushed with shame and froze. He raised an amused brow. "Not willing. Fine, though you might be more agreeable if you let go of my hand first." DeWitt wore a wicked smile. He wasn't one to be easily fooled. He summoned the butler, Loris, and ordered sturdier restraints brought in. As he walked away, Lena shot DeWitt a glare full of ice-cold hatred. Laid out like a lamb for the slaughter on the bed, she watched as the butler produced a syringe to draw blood. Lena asked in a low voice, "Has it been only me, the sole human in this castle for the past 20 years?" The butler paused, then nodded. Yes. Someone came here 20 years ago, and died here. He added that the dead man had the same rare green eyes. Lena's breath hitched, her suspicion crystallized. Dwit was the one who killed her father. Every ounce of her suffering had been his doing. She vowed inwardly that she would end him herself. The blood in the syringe gave off a cloying sweet scent and Loris shuddered slightly. Tears streamed down Lena's face as she whispered into the dark, "Where did he die?" But instead of answering, the butler suddenly released her restraints and urged her to run. That he was trembling, barely holding back the monstrous craving that Lena's blood had awakened in him. Moments later, his face twisted in agony, features contorting as if fighting against his own nature. Lena frowned in disbelief. A vampire trying not to drink blood. Why fight it? In a hoarse whisper he muttered, "Because drinking blood is sin.it kills." Lena gently lifted his chin, seeing a faint trace of humanity flickering behind those red eyes. Maybe this one could be useful. She picked up the syringe still stained with her blood, pressed a few drops to his lips. The butler trembled, then slowly calmed. Lena removed the muzzle from his face. "I trust you," she said softly. "You won't hurt me." His gaze softened, almost reverent. That he clasped her hand to his cheek. "I swear, never to harm you." Then he brought out a luxurious gown, bowing slightly. "Wear this. It will please the master. It was made for you." Lena looked into the mirror at her reflection, an elegant stranger staring back. She smirked inwardly. One kind word and he nearly cried that I might just be a natural at taming men. But the next moment the butler pulled out a small piece of intimate clothing, clearly intending to help her change. Lena froze, mortified. "That I can handle myself." She couldn't believe Dwit would keep such a perverted servant. The butler was ushered out, yet even from the hallway he seemed lost in the lingering sweetness of her scent. A mocking voice whispered in her ear, "So invested in one girl, then I must destroy her." Lena was brought before the Vampire King. Dwit's expression was amused. "Let the snow wolf play with you for a while." She froze in panic, staring at the wolf many times her size, and stammered that her restraints made movement difficult. The king sneered contemptuously, "A pair of shorts restrains you. A life like yours is barely worth keeping." He pinched her cheek to demonstrate his point. Lena glared stubbornly, but to survive she forced herself to comply. A commotion among the blood thralls triggered a darker side of the butler. Loris's primary persona still held a shred of humanity. The other personality hungered for ruin. Whenever the first persona felt pity for Lena, the second persona grew more murderous. Imagining a human torn apart by the snow wolf sent it into a frenzy. Suddenly Lena screamed and fell hard to the floor. She felt something about her drawing the wolf's attention. No matter how she twisted, she couldn't evade its assault. Her bitten shoulder bled heavily. The scent of blood turned intoxicating. That smell. The blood thralls seemed bewitched. Their eyes flashed red and fangs bared. Though the second persona scoffed at mere cravings, the first persona's flesh could not resist. He collapsed to his knees, trembling and gasping in pain. The blood thralls, ravenous, leapt at Lena. She crumpled, screaming in terror, "Don't, please." With ravening thralls ahead and the starving snow wolf behind, Lena was swallowed by despair. In the nick of time, Dwit appeared like a shadow and teleported Lena into another room. Yet the moment he saved her, his hand closed coldly around her throat. "You bled on purpose," he said icily, testing my restraint. "I don't tolerate restless women in my castle." Lena's face flushed red as she struggled for air, choking out a few broken words. "Lord, I didn't." Desperation sparked a thought. Maybe her blood could save her. Sure enough, Dwit was drawn to the intoxicating scent, leaning in unconsciously, his tongue brushing against her wound. And in that instant, a shocking truth was revealed. His eyes widened. You bear my contract mark." "Impossible. You're my fated bride?" Lena stared at him in bewilderment. But before she could process it, the Vampire King's tone hardened. He ordered the butler to bring the torture wheel. Lena was bound once more, helpless. "Bring the device," Dwit commanded coldly. The butler smirked darkly. "It'll make her suffer. Even you might not stomach the sight." Terror surged through Lena's chest. What kind of device could it be? The king's voice echoed through the chamber. "If you endure this game without a single sound, I'll overlook your little stunt. But if you scream, you'll be wolf feed." The game was brutal. The spinning blade sliced close to the body inch by inch until blood would paint the floor. Lena trembled in horror. Why must it be me? Dwit's face went ice-cold, eyes full of suspicion. You somehow found this cursed castle in the forest, slipped into my chamber and bled just so? Convenient, isn't it? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. What's your purpose, my contract bride? A cold sword hilt scraped the skin beneath Lena's chin, sending a shiver through her. The Vampire King said he despised deceit above all. Lena scrambled to explain herself, but her words only made her appear more suspicious. DeWitt's fingers toyed cruelly at her jaw and mouth, searching her face for the truth beneath the expression. Then he swung the blade in a sharp, threatening arc, steel catching the light. To Lena's surprise, the king loosened part of her restraints, an action that felt equal parts test and punishment. He sneered, gesturing to the blade. Say it again, this is your last chance. Red-faced from torment, Lena rasped back. What kind of answer do you want? DeWitt's lips curled in a slow, meaningful smile as he ordered the butler to fetch a device. Bring it here. Let her experience it properly. The butler's face took on an ugly pleasure. Once it's used, even master will react. This will break a person's inner defenses. Lena's stomach dropped as the butler produced a feather-like instrument. Waving it through the air, it was no ordinary plume. He explained in a low voice. It was a relic said to unsettle memory and senses, laced with hallucinogens and a hypnotic draft, designed to amplify emotion and leave the mind exposed and volatile. As the relic drew near, Lena felt her cheeks flush and breath shorten. A foggy scent spread, infiltrating the room and unsettling anyone close enough, blurring their judgment. Trembling under the onslaught, Lena forced herself to hold silence. Only ragged breaths betrayed her agony. Those barely suppressed breaths only served to provoke the room. The king murmured coldly, "If you cry out, it will be your end. Now prove you can be still until the last moment." Bound to the wheel, the girl endured torment that nearly drove her mad. First with inexplicable psychological provocation, then with paranoid condemnation, and finally with humiliating games. Worn down but not broken, Lena resolved to fight back step by step. She started by taunting her captor in a provocative tone. "Why do you always watch others perform and never act yourself? Are you incapable?" In truth, Lena had been trained as a child. She and other girls underwent a covert regimen that taught them to parse lies from truth. She learned how the world worked. Men crave control, but their weak points can be exploited. Her handler once told her, "If you can spot their masks, you can turn the mask against them and extract what you need." Lena asked softly, "How do you tell?" Her teacher had leaned in to demonstrate. When they say, "I'm not interested in you," that's often a lie. Given your looks and bearing, true indifference is rare. Those who mean to end you outright won't toy with language. They'll act violently. So flirtatious or teasing lines are frequently the best openings to puncture their facade. Provocation is a tool. Push them and watch what slips out. So Lena, strapped to the wheel, deliberately goaded the Vampire King. If you won't do it yourself, then you clearly can't. At the same time, she noticed her blood scent intensify in the air, not merely iron and copper now, but amplified by an agent designed to scramble the senses. The butler murmured that the compound was potent enough to cloud judgment. DeWitt gripped her chin and barked, "Confess your identity loudly. Give me a straight answer. Don't make me wait." Lena defied him stubbornly. "I refuse." DeWitt, struggling to maintain composure, met her glare in silence, the air between them tightening like a drawn wire, neither willing to yield. Then suddenly the potion's effects intensified. Lena's vision blurred. Her mind spiraled into darkness and she collapsed unconscious. The butler murmured to himself, astonished, "What a peculiar human. I've never seen anyone resist the draft this long." Cautiously he asked, "Master, what should we do with her? Deliver her to the lower blood clan?" DeWitt was silent for a long moment before replying coldly, "Take her to the 3rd floor. Let her rest and give her the antidote." Lena lay motionless on the bed, bathed in moonlight. The Vampire King sat beside her, his fingers brushing her cheek with an unreadable expression. The butler glanced nervously. "My lord, are you tempted by her?" DeWitt's eyes flashed cold. "Don't presume, she will never be worthy of being my prey." By dawn, Lena stirred awake, realizing she was still alive. No guards, no watchers, perhaps she thought a chance to escape. But the moment she approached the window, an unseen barrier hurled her backward, slamming her to the floor. A maid rushed in, startled. "Miss Lena, what are you doing? If you need help, please tell me." The maid led her on a tour, but Lena quickly sensed the truth. Every step she took was being watched. "The entire second floor is the king's domain," the maid explained. "No one may enter without his command, and he despises intrusion." The more secretive the place sounded, the more curious Lena became, especially when she noticed a faintly glowing corridor ahead. The maid hesitated before speaking. "That's the armory. It holds the weapons our king seized from vampire hunters." Lena's heart skipped. Perhaps one of those weapons could kill the king. "Remember," the maid warned, "this floor is forbidden. Without the king's permission, even we servants cannot cross that line." As they walked, Lena's mind churned with plans, while the maid glanced back, thinking bitterly. So reckless, typical of a foolish human. Lena followed the maid into the ruined grand hall. It was where the vampires held their nightly feasts. Splendor masking decay. By day it was silent and cold, but by night chandeliers blazed, echoing with laughter and blood-soaked luxury. They passed through a series of antechambers before arriving at the kitchen. Lena tried to find an excuse to slip away, but the maid suddenly yanked her hair and dragged her inside. Several other maids surrounded her, sneering with open jealousy. "I can't see what the king likes about you," one spat. Their words dripped with venom, mocking her beauty and her privilege. The leader, Emma, smirked wickedly. "A girl like you belongs in the dungeon, with the feral ones. You'd make a fine communal servant." Lena shrank back into the corner, trembling. "Are they going to kill me?" Her fingers brushed against a kitchen knife. "No matter what happens, I have to defend myself." Emma laughed darkly. "Only low-born vampires eat their prey whole. We prefer to make it last." Lena steadied her voice. "The king ordered you to protect me. If I'm harmed, that means defying his command." The room fell silent. Then one of the maids sneered. "We won't break the rules, but there are plenty of ways to make you suffer." They lunged at her, pinning her down. Emma brought over a tray of rotting chicken hearts, writhing with maggots. Sweat poured down Lena's face. "If the king finds out," she warned, "none of you will survive this." Emma burst out laughing. "Oops, guess I fed you the wrong thing. Unless you kneel now and hand me your pride and your life, you're nothing." Her smile twisted. "Only I deserve the king's favor." Lena's expression hardened. "I'm not your toy." With a sudden slash, the knife struck, cutting two of them. She seized Emma by the hair and slammed her face toward the filthy tray. "I don't like the sound of you breathing," she hissed. "Apologize and take me back to my room." Emma's face was smeared with blood, her eyes stinging shut, yet she still snarled through gritted teeth. "You filthy human, don't expect me to apologize." Lena smirked coldly, forcing her head back into the bloody tray. "What's that? Too dark to see. Wash your face and say it again." The servants around them froze, stunned by the sudden shift of power. Finally, Emma broke, sobbing. "It was the butler, Loris. He ordered us. Please don't kill me." Lena froze. "Loris. The one I tamed? Impossible." Seeing her doubt, the others swore frantically. "If we lie, let the ants eat us alive. He's on the second floor. I'll take you there. Just spare us." Lena's expression turned to ice. "No, you'll hang here. Head down. If you can untie yourselves before you suffocate, you live." She turned away, muttering almost playfully, "See? I'm merciful." Meanwhile, on the second floor, Loris sipped his afternoon tea calmly. Few knew the truth. He carried two minds within him. One obedient and gentle, the other cruel and unrestrained. Lena soon found him. The butler was slicing his finger, letting the blood drip into a teacup. Lena stopped him sharply. "So, you've stopped resisting the taste of blood." "It's for His Majesty," Loris replied evenly. "He prefers his tea with a hint of red fragrance." Lena cut straight to the point. "Emma's attack, was it your order?" The butler stiffened, surprise flashing across his face. He hadn't expected his pawns to betray him. "Why?" Lena demanded. "Do you hate me that much? Or is it because I overstepped last time?" Loris lowered his head in mock shame, muttering inwardly, "Annoying human." Forcing emotion into his tone, he pleaded, "No, please. Don't think that. I've never hated you." Lena grabbed him by the collar, her eyes sharp as glass. "Then tell me why?" She released him suddenly, sending him sprawling to the floor. Admit it, she hissed. You ordered the maids to torment me, didn't you, Loris? Loris was on the verge of tears, his mouth opening and closing without sound. Lena's glare cut through the air. Give me a reason I can believe, she said coldly, or I'll tell Dwit everything. Please stand up first, he stammered. Lena refused, leaning closer, voice like frost. I hate being toyed with. If you really despise me, kill me outright. Their faces were inches apart. The tension hung heavy. Loris flushed, swallowing hard. I don't hate you, he whispered. I never wanted to hurt you. Lena's eyes narrowed. Then tell me the truth. Everything you know about Dwit. Do that, and I'll let you prove your loyalty. She extended a pale hand toward him as if offering trust. Loris flinched and quickly pushed her back. You don't need to do that, he murmured. I'll tell you what you want to know. He spoke quickly, inventing as he went. I ordered the maids to act because you were close to discovering our secret. Vampires fear water. It corrodes us. The lie came easily. Lena, catching on, smiled faintly and embraced him. Then it was all a misunderstanding. I'm sorry, Loris. You really are kind. His heart lurched. No, as long as I can control myself, I won't drink blood. You're my friend. I'd never hurt you. He lowered his head and brushed her hand with his lips. By blood, I swear, I'll never harm you. Lena walked away with a careless smile. Only when she was gone did Loris exhale, struggling to contain the hunger gnawing at him. Then a harsh voice echoed in his mind, the second persona. Fool! She's feeding your craving to use you. The first persona answered quietly, Many have used me. At least I don't hate her. The second laughed coldly, pulling a pair of black contact lenses from the drawer. Then watch closely, it hissed. Watch how your beloved girl will be destroyed, piece by the king's hand. Dressed neatly and carrying a tray of afternoon tea, Lena approached the vampire king's chamber. Her expression was calm, but beneath it, a plan was forming. Your Majesty, she said softly, allow me to ease your fatigue. She began massaging his temples and shoulders with gentle precision. Suddenly, Lena drew a small vial from her sleeve and flung its contents toward him. Begone, monster. The liquid splashed, but the king sat unmoved, not a drop touching him. He turned his head slowly, voice cold as frost. Explain yourself. With a flick of his hand, he sent her crashing into the wall. The air thickened with killing intent. Lena fell to her knees in panic. Dwit knelt before her, gripping her chin. Who taught you this? Who told you to try such nonsense against me? She stayed silent. She couldn't reveal Loris's trap. Dwit's patience snapped. Speak, or I'll end you here and now. His grip tightened until she could barely breathe. A few drops of water and you thought you could harm me? He growled. Do you think I fear breaking the contract, or that I'd be fooled like those pitiful mortals? Lena gasped out the only word she could. Dwit, it hurts. Her trembling voice pierced through his fury. The king froze. Something deep within him, something ancient and volatile, stirred violently. Magic surged in the air. Dark mist coiled around them as he reached toward her wound, trying to suppress the contract's backlash, only to trigger a resonance he couldn't control. Lena shuddered, bound by invisible energy. It wasn't fear. It was a pull, like destiny itself closing its fist. Dwit muttered under his breath, I shouldn't, yet I can't stop myself. The energy around him flared crimson, burning against the walls. From the shadows, Loris watched with gleaming eyes, a cruel smile curling his lips. So even you fall, my lord, he whispered. You who mocked mortal weakness, now drowning in your own desire. Fall, Dwit, the butler murmured, black aura clouding his gaze. Let that woman drag you into the abyss you once ruled. In a sudden motion, Lena grabbed the gun from the king's belt, flipped off the safety and fired upward, straight through his chin. The blast echoed through the hall. She stood frozen, trembling. Did I really kill him? The mighty vampire king, felled by a single bullet? From across the room, Emma smiled, a twisted, knowing grin. Moments later, Loris stormed in, shouting orders. Hurry! Get His Majesty to the recovery chamber. Prepare the blood reserves. As they carried Dwit past, half-conscious, he whispered her name. The look he gave her, icy, unblinking, made her blood run cold. Lena clenched her fists. No, it can't be that easy. He's not dead. Loris turned on her, seizing her throat. Foolish human, you think this castle stands on stone and mortar. If he dies, you die with it. He barked to Emma, lock her in the dungeon. If the master falls, she perishes too. In the main hall, the resurrection ritual began. A crimson sigil glowed beneath the altar as servants chanted in unison, the air thick with blood-scented energy. Lena was dragged into a cold, damp cell. Emma sneered, "This is where your kind belongs. Don't die too soon. Let the ghouls have some fun first." Surrounded by hideous faces, Lena trembled uncontrollably. "Please, don't kill me. You can have my blood, every day if you want. Just let me live." The creatures lunged, only to be knocked aside by a sudden blur of movement. "Scream," a voice whispered close to her ear. "Make it look real. Don't let the guards suspect." Lena stared. Those eyes weren't mindless at all. The figure pulled off his mask, silver hair glinting faintly. "Name's Hole," he said quietly. "A werewolf in hiding. You're human, right? How about we work together?" Lena's heartbeat slowly steadied. She'd heard the old legends. Werewolves and vampires had always been natural-born enemies. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. The patrol was approaching. Lena instantly shifted into a pitiful tone, crying out, "Help me, please." Hearing noise inside, the guards shouted, "An escape attempt. Capture them. Let her learn what happens to those who try to assassinate Prince Dwit." In the chaos, Hole helped Lena to her feet. "Miss Lena, are you hurt?" "I'm fine," she whispered back. You can really restrain vampires?" Hole scratched the back of his neck, embarrassed. "Well, I'm only a newly turned trainee werewolf. I can't fight elites. Just stun the feral ones for a bit." He glanced at her. "But did you truly kill the vampire Prince Dwit?" Lena gave a faint nod. Hole's eyes widened in shock. Her expression turned distant. Haunted by the memory of that shot, the recoil, the echoing gunfire, the smell of iron in the air. Was that revenge? She wondered, did I finally avenge father? A single tear rolled down her cheek. Hole, watching her, suddenly blushed. Lena frowned. "I'm crying and you're blushing, why?" Hole cleared his throat awkwardly. "Just wanted to mention, Miss Lena, your sock is a little out of place." Lena froze, face reddening as she quickly adjusted it. "You could have just said so." Hole's expression shifted from awkward to awe. "Miss Lena, to think you took down the vampire king alone. That's been my dream since childhood." Lena grabbed his collar, her voice sharp. "Don't celebrate yet. If the king's really dead, this entire castle might collapse. We need to escape, now." Hole frowned as he looked around. "But this place was newly built, wasn't it? Why does it look so abandoned?" Lena froze. I end her memory. This castle dated back to the 18th century. Nearly 300 years old. To the outside world, it had long been a ruin swallowed by time. She turned sharply. "Wait, when exactly did you get here?" 1833. Hole answered brightly. "I remember it perfectly. The king had just passed a new law allowing werewolves to live openly in the city. My mother took me to buy new clothes to celebrate my coming of age." His tail wagged slightly as he spoke. "For once I could walk around without hiding it. Too bad. To blend in with the vampires, I had to ruin that outfit." Lena's eyes widened. 1833. But it's 2023 now. Her mind spun. Is this time travel? A rift? Another dimension? Or is he just that ancient? Hole, oblivious to her shock, flexed his strength. With one pull, he tore open the bars of the cage. "If DeWitt's dead, this castle might collapse any moment. Let's get out." Lena stared blankly. "So, you could have left any time. You were here voluntarily?" They climbed through a damp escape shaft and emerged into the cold night air. Hole turned, smiling awkwardly. "Miss Lena, it feels strange calling you that all the time." He hesitated, rubbing his neck. "Would it be all right if I called you sis?" Lena blinked, flustered. "That's not really appropriate. If you've really been alive this long, you're older than my grandfather's grandfather." Lena reached out, gently running her hand through Hole's hair. The young werewolf lowered his head obediently, his ears reddening. She smiled softly. "It's just a name. If you like, you can call me sister." Hole's face flushed deeper, his aura flickering wildly, his instincts nearly slipping free as his silver eyes gleamed faintly. He took a few deep breaths, forcing himself to calm down, then grinned awkwardly. "Come on, sister, I'll show you the way out." In a shimmer of light, his body shifted into that of a sleek gray wolf. This way, there's a gate to the garden, and a small hole in the wall. That's how I sneaked in. But before they could move, a crushing wave of unseen energy exploded through the air. A cold, thunderous voice echoed behind them. So, all that effort to kill me, just to run away with a fledgling werewolf? Dwit had returned from death itself. Shadows coiled around him as he stepped forward, eyes like burning embers. That boy's strength won't satisfy you, my dear fiancé. Lena's breath caught in her throat. That he's alive? Her entire body went rigid in disbelief. The king's rage flared. Then he dies first. In an instant, Loris lunged forward, claws flashing. No. Lena threw herself between them, shielding Hole with her body. Please, he's innocent. If you must punish someone, take me instead. The Vampire King's expression darkened, his voice low and venomous. And what gives you the right to make demands of me? He seized Lena's chin, his grip cold and unyielding. You dared wound me, and yet you still breathe. That mercy alone should make you grateful. Lena sobbed, her voice trembling. I know I was wrong. I'm alive only because of your mercy. But please, let others hear of your return. Let them know their lord has risen again. He's weak, your majesty, no threat to you. Let him live and he'll pray for your glory. Dwit paused, loosening his hold slightly. You call my resurrection a blessing? From the shadows came murmurs, echoes of ancient voices. Dwit's existence is the curse of the bloodline. That he should have perished. Even the darkness seemed to turn against him. Lena lifted her head, hands clasped tightly. If his existence is a sin, then let my life atone for it. Let me bear your judgment. Once again her words pierced through his fury. This fragile human who defied him again and again. Her sincerity disarmed the monster within him. Something in her unwavering gaze made him hesitate. If I am to spare him, Dwit said slowly, then you will pay the price. Your will, your soul, they will belong to me. A faint, dangerous smile curved his lips. Can you accept that, Lena? Sweat trickled down her temples, her breath hitched. No. Hole shouted, stepping between them. You can't give him your soul, not for me. Hole barely finished his sentence before Loris clamped a hand over his mouth. Interrupting the master's words, he whispered icily, is hardly the conduct of a gentlemanly wolf. Lena understood the danger instantly. To win back Dwit's trust, she lowered her head. I swear to serve you, Lord Dwit, even unto death. The Vampire King's eyes narrowed slightly as though weighing her sincerity. Then, to everyone's surprise, he smiled faintly and drew her closer. The air seemed to thaw. Raise your head, he commanded quietly. Look into my eyes and speak your vow again. Lena hesitated. Did you not say that giving you my soul was enough? Why do you keep testing me? Dwit's tone turned sharp. I dislike my bond being tainted by another's gaze. Obedience is your fate. Prove it again. Do this and I'll let the wolf live. A fair trade, isn't it? Hole struggled against Loris's hold, panic rising in his chest. No, she's going to sacrifice herself again, just to save me. Not good enough, Lena said firmly, lifting her head. I refuse this deal. DeWitt's faint smile froze, a flicker of surprise, and something darker, crossing his crimson eyes. I'm grateful to be alive, Lena continued steadily. But loyalty and dignity aren't currencies to be traded. My devotion belongs only to the one truly worthy of it. A shadow passed across DeWitt's face, his expression hardened, voice low and thunderous. Then let me show you what it means, to be bound for life. His fingertips brushed the sigil on her forehead, and it flared with searing light. The glow formed ancient runes that wrapped around them both. Lena felt the energy surge through her veins, rewriting her essence itself. Her breath caught, pain and heat coursed through her like molten fire, a binding she could neither resist nor escape. Her pulse thundered in her ears, magic flooding every fiber of her being, as if a long-sealed power had awakened. DeWitt released her, voice calm but absolute. From this moment on, our fates are one. Lena, you are my betrothed. At the heart of the crimson sigil, DeWitt raised his staff high. The rite of rebirth began. Every traitor's body turned to ash under the burning curse. Yet Lena remained standing among the fallen, untouched. DeWitt's voice echoed through the hall. You alone stand among the dead. This is not mercy, it is fate's claim upon you. Lena lowered her head, whispering under her breath. How exactly am I supposed to respond to that? Meanwhile, Hole, though spared from execution, was thrown into a cold cell where even lowly ghouls could torment him. That if not for the king's order to keep him alive, he'd already be dead. I'll reflect, he muttered grimly. In the dark, he couldn't stop replaying the image of Lena shielding him with her life. Her defiance, her courage. They seared themselves into his mind. His claws dug into the stone wall, eyes glowing faintly red. Sister, he growled, voice trembling with rage and devotion, I'll get you out, that I swear it. Even if it costs me my life, I'll be your loyal knight. Elsewhere, Lena replayed Dwit's words in her mind. Chosen by fate. Was that forgiveness or a warning? She muttered bitterly. So he still hasn't forgiven me. Of course not. Everything he said was just another lie. A man like him wouldn't forget I pulled the trigger. The Vampire King watched her in silence. The more frightened she appeared, the deeper the darkness in his gaze grew. Yet when she lowered her head in submission, trembling, something in him faltered. It was the first time he'd seen her truly afraid. Enough, he said sharply. You need not serve me. The sudden change of tone left Lena stunned, unable to read his mind. Dwit turned away, voice calm but commanding. From now on, you are not a servant, learn to be served. Why? Lena asked cautiously. Dwit's reply came after a long pause. Perhaps, because once my brother drove a blade through my heart. His tone was cold as iron. Among vampires there is no kinship, only predators and prey. His eyes dimmed, lost in memory. A child's scream still haunts me. You killed my father. I'll kill you. He remembered the glint of her green eyes, how his brother's madness twisted that innocence into desire, calling her a gift. Before the monster could reach her, Dwit had acted, binding his brother in blood, sealing him with a curse. Since then his own veins carried decay, his blood forever tainted. And the so-called cure had stood before him all along. The girl thought she would be devoured, but he merely stared at her with cold detachment, and walked away. From that day forward she swore vengeance, to kill the one she believed had taken her father's life. Now the girl who once fled through blood and fire had returned to Dwit's side, but this time she was no longer a child. Dwit lifted her chin, his gaze sharp. A truly obedient one doesn't ask why, she obeys. His tone darkened, tinged with quiet amusement. Since you've disobeyed again, tell me, Lena, what punishment do you deserve? Lena's thoughts tangled. That he's impossible to read. Mercy one moment, menace the next. That he's playing with me. No, she told herself that I can't keep bending to him. That I have to find a way out of his control. Dwit seemed to sense her defiance. Then hear my decree, he said softly. You are bound by oath, betray me no more. A glowing sigil appeared between his fingers, imprinting itself on her chest in shimmering light. Fulfill your vow, he continued, and in time I'll grant you power, second only to my own. Lena could feel the immense pulse of his magic, close enough to shake her breath. She hesitated, then answered firmly, I accept. The Vampire King placed the ring, glowing faintly with his power, onto Lena's finger. The band sealed. A crimson light shimmered between them. Reward and restraint, Dwit murmured. From this day on, you'll renew the vow each dawn, with a kiss of the covenant, to keep our bond unbroken. Lena lifted her face and pressed a gentle kiss upon his brow. A wave of magic rippled outward. Not passion, but the mark of a vow. In that instant, their pact was sealed, and the power between them intertwined like flame and shadow. The Vampire King sighed, murmuring how obedient Lena had become. With a single kiss he lost control and pressed her to the ground. Lena could barely breathe. He suddenly changed his mind, his voice low and commanding. From now on, at least 3 kisses a day. As he spoke, his fingertips traced slowly over her body. Lena stammered in fear. 3 times? The king ignored her, lowering himself again to drink her blood. A few hours later, the butler sensed that the Vampire King seemed to have developed feelings for Lena. Before he could finish his words, the king's cold voice cut through the silence. Loris, you've crossed the line. The butler froze in fear and bowed deeply. My lord, I meant no offense. I only worry that the human may not be trustworthy, that she might deceive you. Loris, Dwit narrowed his eyes. You sound dissatisfied with my decision. How long have you served me? My lord, it has been 500 years. And in those 5 centuries how have I dealt with my enemies? The king sneered. None who wronged me ever left unpunished. But do you know why I've shown her mercy? His voice dropped, cold and heavy for centuries. The blood running through his veins had carried a stench of decay, yet now it pulsed with life once more. Because she is my cure. Her blood breaks my curse. Her faith strengthens me that she's worth far more alive than dead. Dies for feelings. Those are the most useless things to me. The Vampire King kept insisting he'd never fall for his fiancée. Yet he found himself constantly indulging Lena, convincing himself it was all for gain. Never affection, that he wasn't foolish enough to fall for his prey. It was merely a game of use and control. Still, he ordered the butler, starting tomorrow, arrange more activities that could help us get closer. The butler smirked in secret. He had no intention of letting his master grow soft toward that human. But the first persona, Loris, remained loyal to Lena. He warned his darker self, Mori, you are not to harm her. You've been seduced, Mori sneered. Have you forgotten how our master saved you? I haven't forgotten, Loris replied quietly. But Lena was the first to offer her blood willingly, and to tell me she did nothing wrong. She must have her reasons. We can't hurt her. Mori snarled and grabbed Loris by the throat. You ever wonder why you who despise human blood suddenly crave hers? She must have tampered with it. She's been manipulating you from the start, turning you against our master. Those words snapped something in Loris. With a sharp breath, he sealed Mori's consciousness away, forcing the madness into silence. Mori began to panic. I promise I won't hurt her, he pleaded. Just let me out, please. But moments later, his face twisted with malice. Not hurting her is impossible. I'll just use her jealousy against her. Meanwhile, Lena returned to her room. Staring at the ring Dwit had given her, she tried every possible way to trigger its magic, yet nothing worked. At this rate, when will I ever rescue my wolf brother? She muttered. Maybe it needs mental energy to activate? Sitting cross-legged, she focused her thoughts and called out again and again, Dwit, Dwit. The Vampire King, bathing in the mist, felt the pull of her voice and smirked. So my little plaything can't stand being apart, he mused, ordering the butler, bring Lena to me. He thought she longed to see him again, never realizing she planned to use that moment to strike him down with magic. Moments later, Lena entered the steamy chamber. Dwit lounged lazily in the bath. Wash me, he commanded. Lena froze, her cheeks burning red. Wouldn't it be better to have a maid do that instead? She stammered. The Vampire King sighed helplessly. Alone with me, and yet you still look dissatisfied? Lena dared not disobey. She quickly picked up the water jug and began washing him. Meanwhile, the butler secretly raised a hand, casting a subtle spell. Lena slipped and fell straight into the tub, crashing against the king's chest. For a moment she froze, her face pressed against his firm body. Dwit smiled with amusement. So eager today? Tell me, did you do something behind my back? Lena's heart skipped a beat. So that was his trick. And now he's turning it on me, she thought, trying to calm herself. Forcing a gentle tone, she murmured, My lord, I only wanted to be a little more proactive. To be closer to you. The king chuckled, tilting her chin up with his fingers. An honest child. Look up. This is your reward. Before Lena could react, Dwit closed the distance, brushing a sudden kiss against her lips. The water rippled around them, breaths tangling in the mist until time itself seemed to stop. Next time you miss me, he murmured with a teasing smirk, be the one to come closer. Don't make me keep teaching you. His tone was lazy yet commanding, and Lena could only stay still beneath that suffocating presence. She looked up, half defiant, half nervous. Aren't you embarrassed, my lord? Dwit chuckled. After 1,000 years of life, I've long forgotten how to be embarrassed. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Vampire King felt a stirring within him. A lightness he had long forgotten, the vivid sense of his own emotions. All of it came from her. At that moment, Emma, the maid who secretly adored her master, entered the chamber carrying fresh clothes. From inside, she heard a woman's faint voice, trembling with resistance. Emma froze the moment she looked up. What she saw made her blood run cold. The king didn't even glance toward the door. His tone remained calm, almost amused. Was that intentional? Just now? The words ignited something dark within her. The master she had always seen as untouchable, pure and supreme, was now allowing a human to stand so close to him. Jealousy surged through her chest like fire, burning reason away. Lena could no longer tell dream from reality. Her lips trembled as she murmured, "My lord," Dwit smirked. "Already losing control, are you?" She hadn't expected things to spiral this way. She had planned to leave, yet somehow ended up trapped deeper in his game. Memories flashed through her mind and she bit her lip hard that I just need to save my wolf brother. And then kill him myself. "That ring," the king said suddenly, his tone sharp. "Do you know how to use it yet?" Lena quickly masked her thoughts, putting on a calm, obedient face. "Your orders, my lord." DeWitt smiled faintly. He disliked anyone standing while he sat, so he motioned for her to come closer. Emma tried to interject, her voice trembling, but the king ignored her completely. Lena spoke in a flirtatious tone to flatter the king. "My love for you is like an adventurer's thirst for thrills. Just 1 second away from you makes me feel miserable." She had expected such words to win greater favor. She hadn't expected this kind of reward. The girl leaned in, pressing close to the vampire's neck and whispering, "I will never leave you." The king flushed at the touch. His hand trailed along that vulnerable spot at her throat and he found, surprisingly, that he did not resent it but craved it. He stroked her cheek. Hearing the desire beneath her words, he could not help himself and kissed her. Emma, ignored at the side, was full of hatred that he should be mine. "I'll kill you," she thought. Emma carried a lantern down to the basement. If she wanted Lena gone for good, she had to act now. Following the instructions in the letter, she reached the sealed chamber. There she found the ancient calamity slumbering beneath Ogma's castle, and without hesitation she used her own blood to awaken it. If possible, she whispered inwardly, "Grant me power, power to control everything, and beauty enough to enchant DeWitt himself." The pact was sealed in an instant. Just then, a male servant on patrol passed by and froze when he saw Emma invoking the forbidden entity. He turned to raise the alarm. "Look at me," Emma said softly. His body stiffened, eyes blank and hollow. "Erase what you saw," she ordered, "and command the lesser vampires to mimic your routine." The servant obeyed like a puppet, repeating her commands without question. A wild grin spread across Emma's face. No longer a weary maid, she was reborn in shadow. Her form reshaped into the most beautiful figure of the Blood clan. From that moment she bore a new name, Aegis. Fresh from the bath, Lena was dragged by the vampire king to the training ground. "Steady your stance," DeWitt instructed calmly. "Arms tight, aim for the center, and don't lose focus." The rule of his game was simple. Miss the target and you face a penalty. Lena clenched her jaw. Every rule is his, he's not winning this time. The king leaned in close, voice smooth and teasing. "Miss again and forget the penalty, just come to my chamber tonight instead." Lena steadied her breath and released the arrow. "Bullseye." DeWitt watched her smile, then asked dryly, "So eager to avoid me, are you?" She answered with a sweet grin. "How could I waste your whole afternoon of teaching, my lord?" Amused, DeWitt chuckled. "Very well then. Rules are rules. Looks like it's my turn to lose something." Lena froze, caught between laughter and panic. Somehow, even in victory, she felt like the one being played. Lena approached the vampire king, her hands trembling slightly. Just as she moved to follow his command, he caught her wrist, amusement flickering in his eyes. "Before you continue," he murmured, "shouldn't you show some gratitude first?" Her pulse quickened. She had hoped to find an opening to escape, but his tone left no room for refusal. After a brief hesitation, she took a breath and complied, calmly, deliberately. When she looked up again, the king's expression was one of quiet satisfaction, while her own face burned crimson. "That doesn't count," DeWitt said softly, his voice low and teasing. "Consider it practice. The day's first kiss begins now." He drew her closer until she could feel the rhythm of his heartbeat, a steady, suffocating drum beneath her palm. From beyond the walls came faint echoes, but Lena heard only the silence between them. She had won the game, yet somehow still found herself yielding. Regaining her composure, she gently pushed him back. "Enough, my lord," she whispered. DeWitt studied her for a long moment, reluctant to let go before finally conceding, "As you wish." Straightening her clothes, Lena glanced down at the ring on her left hand. Not a total loss, she thought. Next time I'll find a way to turn even this to my advantage. At the same time, the vampire king sat alone in his chamber, restless and unsatisfied. He thought to himself, "Next time, I'll find a way to make her stay willingly, to make her want to serve me. Perhaps I should spoil her more," he murmured under his breath. "I want her, to love me a little more. His mind was consumed by Lena's image, while Lena herself was thinking only of vengeance. That monster who killed father. She reminded herself, I almost forgot what he is. She sighed in relief. Leaving when she did had spared her from a deeper trap. Outside his door, a few maids whispered among themselves. This is the first time our master summoned us since his revival. I'm so happy. He hasn't forgotten us because of that human. Do you think he'll play games with us again? Another asked with a giggle. I always loved those moments with him. Lena hid behind a wall and listened. She sighed. I just left. He's already eager to summon them. She overheard one maid say, in the name of love, make that towering man bow his head. Let him humbly give everything to me. Lena caught the key phrase, in the name of love. Could that really make him submit? At that moment a familiar figure appeared at the door. Emma, now calling herself Aegis. No one seemed to recognize her. Her bearing and looks were even more captivating than that human's. Aegis knocked on the king's door and said politely, Master, we are here to serve you. She glanced toward Lena's hiding spot and sneered, I will defeat you. Lena felt a sting of annoyance. How absurd to be jealous of an enemy. She forced a bitter smile and refocused. Instead of wasting time on jealousy, think of how to extract more advantage from him, then turn it around and kill him, to avenge her father. After being rejected by Lena, the vampire king called for his maids to enter the hall. Aegis strode in first, certain that with her new beauty and power, she would once again earn her master's favor. But the king's expression darkened. Get out. Who gave you permission to enter? I don't need any of you, he roared. The command struck Aegis like thunder. Fear quickly turned to rage. It must be Lena, she thought bitterly, that human must have bewitched him. When she still hesitated, the king's voice grew colder. Didn't you hear me? I said, out. Aegis's jealousy burned so fiercely she could barely contain it. Lena, I'll make sure you regret ever crossing me. Meanwhile, Lena wandered the corridors of the castle, when a sudden chill crept up her spine. A group of little demons lunged at her from behind, but Lena spun and kicked, sending one tumbling down the stone steps. Lena frowned in confusion. What's going on? The lesser demons were forbidden to come upstairs without permission. Yet this one, clearly a mindless low-rank vampire, had appeared out of nowhere. Before she could think further, a whole swarm of vampire imps rushed at her. Panicking, Lena activated the combat ring that the vampire king had given her. But the ring's energy drained far too quickly. Within seconds it went dark. She could only watch helplessly as the creatures lunged toward her, bracing for death. Suddenly the king appeared. With a single gesture he sent the demons flying and caught Lena in his arms. His voice carried an unusual concern. Are you hurt? Lena froze. Wasn't he supposed to be entertaining his mates? Why did he come here? The king glanced at her ring, his tone turning cold. Out of power. Were you trying to use it to control the lower blood clans? Is this how you treat my gifts? The vampire king fixed his gaze on the ring in Lena's hand, his voice icy. You used my gift to incite a rebellion? Before Lena could respond, he continued, in this entire castle only I, and that ring, can command the blood clans. So you couldn't wait to betray me, could you? His tone grew darker, the air thick with tension. Lena stared at him, exasperated. You know exactly how much energy that ring holds. It can barely protect me, let alone start a revolt. If you really want to kill me, she said sharply, then do it directly, no need to twist words. She lifted his hand to her neck, daring him. The king sneered. So you still think you're innocent? Or do you believe I wouldn't dare kill you? Lena shouted back. It's not what I think, I am innocent. Her eyes didn't waver, and for a moment the king froze, then slowly loosened his grip. From the shadows, Aegis watched closely. No. The king's tone softened. He was supposed to be enraged. He was supposed to punish that woman brutally, not hesitate. She slowly stepped toward him, her voice sweet and delicate. Master, she cooed, pretending to plead for Lena's sake, though every word was laced with venom. Lena frowned, puzzled. Who is this woman? Why such hostility when we've never even met? I'm Aegis, the woman said softly, offering Lena a hand as if to help her bow to the king. But Lena could see through the act instantly. Aegis wasn't helping her at all. She saw her as nothing more than a rival for the king's favor. Lena jerked her hand away from Aegis, her tone sharp. Don't talk to me like we're close, that I don't even know you. She lifted her hand toward the vampire king. This is what you call a gift? A defective ring? As soon as she waved her hand, the ring burst with a blinding surge of energy, striking Aegis and sending her crashing to the ground. Lena froze. Didn't this thing just stop working? Could someone else be controlling it? The king's face darkened completely. Enough, he thundered. Haven't you caused enough chaos already? Aegis lay on the floor, whimpering pitifully, pretending to be the victim. But Lena stood her ground. Chaos? If this is what you call chaos, then what isn't? She snapped. The moment the words left her mouth, the anger in her chest faded, leaving only disappointment. Disappointment in him, and in herself. Somewhere along the way she'd foolishly started to expect something more from him. Lena tossed both rings to the floor, her tone steady but cutting. Since you don't trust me, take them back. Otherwise, I might start to think your rewards and your affection are equally cheap. The vampire king froze, momentarily speechless. Beside them, Aegis whimpered weakly, Pastor, it hurts, drawing his attention. He reached out as if to comfort her, and her eyes lit up with hope. But the next instant he pulled his hand back. Loris, he ordered coldly, find out what really happened, and throw this woman out. I don't want to see her again. Aegis's face went pale. She had thought her beauty would make her irresistible, yet now she was nothing but an annoyance. Lena, stung by his distrust and cruelty, felt her heart twist painfully. The king's possessiveness was absolute. Without his permission, even leaving was forbidden. As she stood there in a daze, a knock sounded at the door. Butler Loris's voice followed. By the king's command, I've come to investigate the Blood Clan's outbreak. As soon as the butler entered, a glint of cunning flashed in his eyes. He was clearly plotting something beneath that calm surface. What he saw made his heart skip a beat. Lena sat rigidly on the chair, fury burning in her eyes, a knife clenched in her hand, and he thought for a moment she might actually attack the king. So it's true, she spat, trembling with anger. Devitt really sent someone to investigate me. The butler hurried to placate her, bowing slightly. Please, Miss Lena, calm yourself. His Highness merely wishes to confirm the facts. That he means you no harm. Lena narrowed her eyes, voice low and probing. And if it turns out to be true, what would you do then? In the next instant, the butler's second persona twisted into a snarling fiend. If she dares to assassinate the master, I will make sure she dies. He added, but it must be made to look like she died at someone else's hand. The butler's primary persona could only go along. Of course I support you in assassinating the master. We can discuss a plan. Lena snorted, picked up an apple and began to peel it, saying coolly, I never said I was going to kill Dwit. Unexpectedly, Lena did not follow the butler's scheme. The girl wanted the lofty vampire king to kneel and beg her to love him, to cherish him, if only so she would lower her eyes to look at him once. The cruelest way to defeat an enemy is to make him fall in love. In the name of love, make that forever superior man willingly bow his head and humbly give everything to me, only to win my affection. Thinking back, the maid's words were right. If you can't run and can't win, change the method. That I want to see him bitterly regret falling in love with his enemy's daughter. The loyal butler reacted in disbelief. So you mean to kill the master? Lena shot back. He's been so good to me, why would I kill him? She stepped closer to the butler and demanded, and you, weren't you Dwit's most faithful steward? How could you support me harming him? Lena said coldly, don't talk of loving me, I won't believe it. As she spoke, she pressed the knife against the butler's cheek. She also understood that a single drop of blood wouldn't buy loyalty. Another possibility was that he was putting on an act. Remembering the start, Loris had always been a bystander, never truly aiding Lena, not even with a word. Lena suspected it was Dwit's plot. He set the butler up as a supposed ally so she would think she had help in this haunted place, when in truth she had been isolated all along. Why would you think that, Miss Lena? The butler asked calmly, though a trace of malice hid beneath his tone. The master may have saved my life, but that doesn't mean I wish him well. Lena sneered, not wishing your savior a good life. That's a rare and twisted sentiment. Dragging a perfect man off his pedestal, making him as low, broken and filthy as I am, isn't that fascinating? Lena shot back sharply, perfect in your eyes perhaps. To me, Dwit is arrogant, domineering, cold and merciless. Humans are selfish by nature. We all pretend to be good. Truth is, everyone's just rotten in their own way. The butler snapped, "No, you're wrong. Some people can be nearly perfect and others are nothing but filth." Lena's tone softened, pity flickering in her eyes. "So that's why you keep that flawless smile. You think being flawed means you don't deserve love or forgiveness?" She reached out and lifted the pendant hanging from his neck. "Dwit's gift. What is this?" "It's his lordship's commandment, to remain gentle and loyal." Lena yanked the pendant off, the butler instinctively trying to stop her. Holding the pendant before his eyes, she asked coldly, "Then tell me, without it, have you become worse?" She cupped his face softly. "See? No fangs, no frenzy, that you're still perfectly sane." Lena placed the pendant back into the butler's hand and said softly, "See? Even without it, even without that perfect smile, you're still you. The real you isn't any worse. Those who truly accept you will love you no matter what, even if you do nothing at all. Just like how humans love kittens, acceptance has never required conditions." The malice in Maury's heart began to waver. Loris noticed his hesitation and smiled. "I told you Miss Lena is kind, and impossible to dislike." Maury snapped, "I don't need you to tell me that. I'll treat her better from now on." Maury's hostility melted away, replaced by a strange warmth. "Miss Lena, if you ever need anything, I'll do my best to help." Lena seized the chance. "Then tell me, what does Dwit like?" "Beauty and blood, of course," Maury replied. Lena smirked. "So that's where I should start. Lucky for me, I've got both." She pressed further, curiosity flashing in her eyes. "And what kind of women does he like? Has this castle ever had a mistress before?" The butler suddenly froze, realization dawning. "Wait, are you trying to get me to talk? To use me to win the master's favor?" Loris's other persona surfaced, his tone urgent. "Maury, what are you doing? Miss Lena already belongs to the master. Her liking him should be a good thing." Maury snapped, "A good thing? Have you forgotten why we're here? The master suspects her, he doesn't trust her. You really think they could ever be happy together?" His tone grew cold and determined. "Stop hesitating, they must never be together. Miss Lena deserves her own happiness. Leave it to me." Loris fell silent. Composing himself, Maury said calmly, "Miss Lena, the Lord prefers women who are cool and reserved, but he detests those who are too forward." Lena frowned. "Strange that I remember he likes playing games with the maids. Could that have been a lie too?" Maury didn't answer that, he bowed politely. "Please, give me your hand." Lena hesitated but extended it. Maury leaned forward slowly, bit her hand lightly, then pressed a gentle kiss where his teeth had grazed. "The hand kiss is the highest gesture of sincerity among vampires," he murmured. "Please don't doubt my loyalty." Lena had no choice but to believe him, for now. Seeing the faint bite mark, Maury bowed his head. "Forgive me, I didn't mean to." Lena merely smiled. "It's fine. This actually gives me a new idea, to play a little push and pull with the king. This drop of blood," she said playfully, "is my gift to you, that if he dislikes me being too forward, then I'll simply make him chase me instead." For the first time, Maury tasted blood that was truly sweet. It lingered on his tongue, haunting and intoxicating. That night, he came to report to the Vampire King. The low-born vampire's rampage had nothing to do with Miss Lena. The king stared at the ring on his desk, lost in thought. After a pause, Maury ventured, "My lord, are you planning to apologize to Miss Lena?" The king scoffed. "Apologize? Me? To her? What is she doing now?" During the investigation, Miss Lena was slicing an apple in her room. The king froze, irritation rising. "She still has the mood to eat apples. Seems I don't weigh much in her heart." His possessiveness flared instantly. "Tomorrow," he ordered coldly, "have her attend me in my chambers." The next morning, Lena was dressed in a beautiful gown and instructed to bring the king his morning tea. The moment the Vampire King saw her, a restless desire surged within him. She was stunning, her alluring attire made his blood stir uncontrollably. Fighting the urge, he commanded with his usual dominance, "Come closer." Lena quickly stepped back, bowing slightly. "I dare not, my lord. According to your own rules, I mustn't get too close while serving you." The Vampire King suddenly changed the rules. Lena was now required to serve him personally, even to the point of feeding him by hand. Lena handed him an unpeeled apple. The king looked unimpressed. "Is this how you serve your master?" Playing her push-and-pull game, Lena said coolly, "If you're dissatisfied, Perhaps you should let someone else serve you. The challenge only fueled the king's competitive desire. With a snap of his fingers, Lena was pulled straight into his arms. Resigned, she brought the apple to his lips. The king took a bite, savoring it with satisfaction. Continue. Humans usually peel apples before eating them, Lena murmured. Would you like to try that, my lord? As she began to peel it, the king kept one arm around her waist, deliberately talking to distract her. Distracted, Lena slipped. The blade nicked her finger. The king instantly caught her hand, lifting it to his lips. Does it hurt? Let me handle the rest. Lena quickly pulled her hand back, using the excuse, the floor's a bit dirty, I should get a cloth to clean it. Her small figure hurried out of the room. Moments later, she returned with a bucket, dutifully scrubbing the floor. Hook, line, and sinker, she thought with a smirk. But the king wasn't finished. Wipe the bookshelf too, he ordered. It's covered in dust. Lena glanced up at the impossibly tall shelf and thought, of course he's doing this on purpose. She feigned helplessness. My lord, could you help me? The king grinned, secretly pleased, with pleasure. He pulled her close, lifting her easily, her back pressed against his chest, his heartbeat growing faster by the second. The king's face brushed against Lena's back, a ripple of emotion rising in his chest. He spoke softly, about what happened before. I'll return the ring to you. Lena deliberately exposed the bite mark on her hand and replied, You don't have to apologize, my lord, that I'm just your maid now. The king's gaze sharpened and he immediately noticed the mark. You're hurt. How did this happen? Let me see. Lena quickly withdrew her hand, feigning nervousness. It's nothing, just a little accident. That only angered him more that he yanked her hand forward roughly. Where did you get this? Is this why you only want to be my maid? Lena forced a calm expression. I don't know what you're talking about. The king's fury exploded. Don't know? Then I'll tell you. This mark. This bite belongs to a male vampire. Tell me, who was it? Lena's plan had worked. He was losing control. She watched his rage with quiet satisfaction. Listen, the king growled, voice trembling with possessiveness. I'll overlook the past from now on if you'll stay as my fiancé. I'll make you the highest under me, and grant you one wish, anything you want. Lena's heart leapt. Finally, he had taken the bait. My wish, she said softly, is freedom. The king hesitated, confused. You are free that you're my fiancé. No one will restrain you. But that wasn't the freedom Lena wanted. What she desired was the right to choose. The ability to accept or to refuse that he could enjoy being served by others. She only wanted the right to decide who could come close. The vampire king caught the undertone in her words, his gaze darkening. So, you wish to refuse me? Lena quickly lowered her head, unable to meet his eyes. I am your fiancé, my lord, that I would never disobey or refuse you. Please, tell me what you wish me to do. The king retrieved the ring and placed it back in her palm. Put it on, and help me change. He reclined lazily on the sofa, voice calm yet commanding. Come here. Lena obeyed, slowly unbuttoning his shirt beneath it. His well-defined muscles and hard lines of his torso made her face flush bright red. It's done, she stammered. The king said nothing, simply watching her in silence. Feeling flustered, Lena sat upright, muttering under her breath. He's teasing me again. Damn it, Dwit really knows how to torment people. The king smiled faintly, fascinated by the woman who dared to keep her distance. You call that teasing? Ordinary maids would kill for a glance from me. And yet you, my fiancé, remain so indifferent. Lena puffed her cheeks slightly, retorting in anger. Isn't it true? I'm your fiancé, yet you still treat me like a servant. The king suddenly pulled her into his arms, voice low and rough. Then tell me, what do you want me to do? In that instant, everything was moving according to Lena's plan. Dwit had finally taken the bait. Lena lifted the king's chin with a teasing smile. I want my lord to cherish me more, just once. Her words instantly sparked his interest. Before she could react, the king pushed her down, his gaze burning. You've grown bold. Since you're my fiancé, he murmured, voice low and dark, I'll grant your wish, but be obedient, and I'll always take care of you. With that, he bit down on her lips. Lena's heart skipped a beat. Be obedient. That tone, he was treating her like a pet. His touch grew bolder, his breath mingling with hers until her whole body flushed crimson. Do you like being served this way? He whispered. Lena could barely breathe. Oh, of course. I do. Just as he was about to lose control, the king suddenly stopped, frowning. No, the link to faith energy isn't complete yet. He looked at Lena, confused. Was she deceiving him or had he not gone far enough? Sensing the change, Lena asked softly, My lord, why did you stop? The king composed himself and replied curtly, I've heard that human bodies are fragile. You must be tired. Rest. Lena pulled her torn clothes over herself, bewildered. Where did I go wrong? Was it because I said I liked it? She recalled what the butler had told her. The king favored distant, composed women and despised those who were too forward. So it's true. Seducing this man is harder than fighting him. Next time I'll strike the right balance, she vowed to herself. Tease him, but never cross the line. Before she could recover, the king suddenly ordered, Come with me. Hours passed as he led her along the edge of the castle without saying a word. Lena's pulse quickened. What is he planning now? They stopped before a crumbling wall. The king gazed at the crack running through the stone. Lena wondered, is he reinforcing the castle himself? Raising his hand, the king murmured an incantation. Light rippled across the wall as the crack began to mend. Lena frowned. Why would Dwit handle this personally? What is he trying to defend against? My lord, she asked softly, there's no one for miles around this fortress. Why not have the guards handle such repairs? The barrier here is too fragile, the king replied quietly. They can't manage it. Come, stay by my side while I rest. He lay back on the stone bed and soon drifted into sleep. Lena curled up beside him, whispering to herself, so he really does fall into deep sleep after casting spells. Did I ask this how he restores his strength? A week passed. From her observations, his routine never changed. Playing games with the maids, reinforcing the barrier, then sleeping. That familiar, flirtatious voice echoed through the hall again. My lord, you can't catch me. Dwit was once more playing with his maids. Lena debated whether to act ahead of schedule. Lost in thought, her hand slipped. Crash. The sound of shattering porcelain silenced the room. The king's sharp eyes snapped toward her. Lena bowed quickly. Forgive me, my lord, that I didn't hold the cup steady. The maids began whispering spitefully. She did that on purpose, didn't she? Just jealous again. She always ruins our time with him. Thinks she's special just because she's his fiancée. Let's see how the king punishes her this time. The king lifted Lena's chin with a faint, dangerous smile. What's this? You don't want me to play with the maids? Remembering her previous mistake, Lena dared not act too forward this time. Forcing a smile, she said softly, My lord may play with whoever you wish, that I won't interfere. Their gazes locked, tension filling the air. The king's voice turned icy. Good, but you've ruined my mood. Without another word, he hoisted a maid over his shoulder, ignoring Lena's pleas. In panic, Lena bowed deeply. My lord, please, let me make it up to you. I'll do anything. The other maids burst into angry whispers. Still trying to seduce him at a time like this? She's just a human. How dare she make our master angry? The king's tone snapped like thunder. Silence. She is my fiancée. Serving me is her duty, but she's also your mistress. Get out, all of you. The room fell silent. In one swift motion, the vampire king grabbed Lena and threw her onto the bed, his voice lowered to a growl. You said you'd do anything for me, didn't you? Lena steadied her breath and answered softly, I wish to stay by your side, my lord, to accompany you on your patrols and to serve you when you rest. The king's gaze hardened, anger flickering beneath it. A week, that's all it took for you to learn my routines. Was that by chance or by design? He gestured for her to approach. Come here, serve me. Lena froze, startled. Arrest. My lord, aren't we patrolling the castle first? The king loosened the buttons of his shirt, his tone low and deliberate. Naturally, we'll handle business first, then the patrol. Lena could only nod obediently. But inside she was secretly pleased. It played right into her plan. Hours later, after their time together, the king finally drifted into deep sleep. Lena slipped out quietly. Yet the moment she closed the door, the king's eyes opened. So, you couldn't stay put after all. He ran a finger across the ring on his hand, smirking. A faint glow pulsed from it. Let's see what my dear fiancé is up to. Lena crept through the corridors until she reached the dungeon. Listen, she whispered to the imprisoned werewolf. I've found the weakest point in the castle's barrier. I need your help. The young werewolf's eyes welled with tears. Miss Lena, you came back for me. Tell me what to do, anything. I owe you my life after last time. Lena took off her ring and pressed it into his hand. Take this and run that I have my own plan. From the shadows, Emma watched, a cruel smile spreading across her face. So, Lena, caught again, this time you won't escape. Back in the bedchamber, the vampire king stared at the magical monitor. Lena's image glimmered within. The dungeon, so that's where you went. Moments later, a guard rushed in. My lord, there's been an escape. The king turned sharply. Report, what's happening outside? The butler bowed. I've already ordered the guards to pursue the fugitive. When he heard it was the werewolf, the king's expression darkened. So, you lied to me for him. My lord, what shall we do now? The butler asked cautiously. The king's smile turned razor-sharp. We'll pay my fiancée a visit. She deserves a little surprise. 1 minute earlier in the dungeon, Hole was sobbing softly, calling out, Miss Lena. A guard sneered contemptuously. Look at that werewolf. What a joke. I could beat him with one hand, humiliate him whenever I like. What difference is he from a stray dog? I could crush him easily. The young werewolf kept repeating, I'll rescue Miss Lena. I swear I will. The guard laughed. Save your breath. The woman you speak of has likely been enthralled by our master. Right now she's probably on her knees before him, begging for mercy. Before the guard could finish, Lena stepped out before them. The guard stammered, A human. How did you get down here? Lord Dwit forbids you. Leave this place. Lena answered coldly, Leave. The guards, seeing her resolve, had no choice but to obey and back away. The werewolf's eyes lit up when he saw her. I'm sorry, I promised I would save you. That I didn't expect Miss Lena to be so capable. Lena felt a flicker in her chest. He truly thought she was endearing, and those twitching ears looked so lively she almost wanted to touch them. I found the weakest spot in the castle's barrier, Lena said. Hurry, run. The werewolf looked at her with awe. Sister, I knew you were brilliant. You even found the flaw in the warding. But then a cold thought struck Lena. Maybe I've fallen into Dwit's trap after all. At that moment, the vampire king and the butler were approaching Lena's location. The butler felt a chill. His master's magic was already strained, yet he had still placed a tracking enchantment on the ring. The king's possessiveness toward Lena was far greater than he had realized. The king asked quietly, Do you know the theory of taming? To tame a beast, you keep satisfying its needs, giving it the illusion of freedom. Then you bring it back, make it understand who its master is. After it endures utter terror, it will learn how to serve. In the end, even if the rope is loosened, it will no longer be able to truly flee. His voice grew colder, more sinister. Lena, this surprise I designed for you. I hope you'll like it. At that moment, the werewolf brother was hammering at the crack in the wall, trying to widen the breach. The king asked Lena coldly, How did the ring end up in his hands? Where did she go? Before Lena could reply, the werewolf lunged, seizing the butler by the throat. You pushed her into this. This time I will kill you, and all the castle's madness, he snarled. The butler arrived just in time to free the king and not without comment, praised the werewolf's strength. You've come a long way since last time. He snapped at the werewolf. Where did you hide Lena? The werewolf answered, We split up from the start. She went to the more dangerous place herself and handed the ring to me. She looked at me with such admiration. Snapping back to action, the werewolf raised his axe and brought it down toward the king. The king ordered the butler, Strike fast, subdue him. Fortunately, the werewolf was quick and dodged the lethal blow. The butler hurried to apologize, guilt flooding his voice. Forgive me, my lord, that I failed to capture him. The king glared. Failed? You let him go, useless fool. Prepare for your punishment. Bitterness stirred within the butler. Oh, this is how he controls her. Through fear and cruelty, he silently committed the scene to memory. The entire castle was turned upside down, yet there was no trace of Lena. The king rubbed his throbbing temple and roared, If she isn't found, you'll all die where you stand. Then, sensing a faint familiar aura, he walked cautiously toward a half-open door. Inside, Lena stood in a revealing dress, a glass of red wine in her hand, her tone teasing. My lord. The sight froze him completely. Biting her fingertip shyly, Lena asked, What took you so long, my lord? Her pleading gaze melted the king's fury. He caught her hand, the one holding the wine, and murmured, Come here. I dare not sully you, my lord, Lena whispered nervously. The king wrapped his arm around her waist, pulling her in. I said, come here. And with that he pressed his lips against hers, the kiss deep and feverish. Lena gasped for air and pushed the king away. My lord, why can't I? Before she could finish, he silenced her with a hand over her lips. Enough. You are mine. She never left me. She never escaped. He lifted her onto the table, his voice low and commanding. I will mark you. The naive Lena didn't understand what he meant but was caught by the intensity in his eyes. This isn't a request, the king continued coldly. It's a command and I'll make sure everyone knows, you belong to me. He lowered his head, leaving a faint mark on her shoulder, a symbolic claim of possession. This is the scent of my fiancé, he murmured. Lena froze, startled by how fast everything was happening, her thoughts in chaos. The night stretched endlessly, thick with tension and unspoken emotion, until dawn broke through the windows. She drew the curtains open, feeling the morning sunlight wash over her. At last, a fleeting breath of relief. Exhausted, she collapsed onto the couch, faint traces of the night still visible on her skin. The king approached again, voice low. Come closer. Lena resisted with all her strength. His eyes darkened. You have no right to refuse me, Lena. You are my fiancé. Let me rest for a while first, please, Lena murmured, trying to soothe him. The vampire king frowned. Humans really have such poor stamina. For me, 3 days and nights would be nothing. Too exhausted to stand, Lena bent over, breath unsteady. The king leaned in again, but she quickly pleaded, later when I wake up, all right? Her hand brushed against his chest. His heart was beating fast. The king's face flushed slightly as he turned away. I have no heart that I never have. Don't use human ideas to guess what I am. Before he could finish, Lena tugged him close and pressed a brief kiss to his lips. For a moment the king froze, because he really did hear his own heartbeat. Lena finally lay down on the bed to rest. The theory of taming echoed in her mind. To tame a beast, the best method is to keep satisfying its needs, until it loses itself between pleasure and vigilance. Then, when it lets its guard down, tighten the leash. Make it remember who truly rules this game. The king believed he held the upper hand, unaware that both of them were calculating each other. Predator and prey had quietly exchanged roles. That he whispered, rest now, staying by her side as she drifted off. Lena smiled faintly, a hint of indulgence in her eyes. Whether Dwit's affection was genuine or not, he would never allow someone he saw as a mere plaything to keep challenging his authority. Perhaps her escape had been part of his design all along. Lena recalled what the young werewolf had told her in the dungeon. You might have fallen into Dwit's trap. Only now did she realize the weight of those words. And no matter how tempting the exit seemed, she must not take it. Quietly she returned to her room, opened a bottle of red wine, and pretended as though she had never planned to leave. If she wanted true freedom, she had to lull Dwit into lowering his guard first. Of course, she also intended to pull him even deeper into her snare. To watch the mighty vampire king crumble under desire would be her sweetest revenge. She could feel his gaze on her even in sleep. Dwit stood beside the bed, whispering, You will forever be my plaything. He leaned down and brushed a kiss against her forehead, keeping that position for hours, watching her quietly until a whole day had passed. Later that night, after Lena had fallen asleep again, the king summoned his butler. Holding a vial of strange liquid, he mocked, Loris, after all these years, you still enjoy tinkering with such little toys. The toy was no trinket. It was a formula meant to bind Lena's soul to the castle. Loris froze, then for the first time defied his master. My lord, this is beneath you. His voice trembled yet remained firm. You've always been proud, dominant, but never forced anyone. Every follower you have chose to obey. She's the only one who didn't. A realization struck him. My lord, you've fallen for her, haven't you? Silence, Dwit growled. You have 3 days. Bring me results. His voice was cold enough to freeze the air as he turned and left. Dwit stepped out of the room, his face dark as night. He muttered to himself, I've never been obsessed with any of my playthings. I simply don't allow them to slip from my grasp. Whatever it takes to keep her, so be it. He was the richest being in the world, ruling over both vampires and humans alike. To him, kings and nobles were nothing but ants. Anything he desired he obtained effortlessly. Yet somewhere along the way he had stooped to using such vile means. just to make one fragile human stay. The butler's words echoed in his head. You've fallen for her. Dwit sneered to himself. Love? For a mere insect. Absurd. No matter the method, even if she loses her soul, it doesn't matter. All I want, he whispered, is a single good night, and a toy that never leaves. In the infirmary, Mori leaned lazily against the wall, mocking. You heard it all, didn't you, Loris? That's our great master's true heart, still proud to call him Lord? Loris stayed silent, trembling slightly. He still remembered the night Dwit had saved his life. Mori's voice turned cold. Even if he hurts the woman you care for most, you'll still kneel to him? Sweat dripped down Loris's forehead. I don't care for Miss Lena that way. I'm only grateful to her. Grateful? Mori's laughter cracked, edged with fury. Stop lying. You like her. You know you do. That single accusation pushed him over the edge. Mori slammed his fist against the wall. We're filth. Crawling in the sewers. What right do we have to love her? His tone grew eerily calm. She's too pure, too radiant. Love from us would only stain her. He straightened his coat, eyes cold. So we'll tell her the truth. Let her see what Dwit really plans to do. As night fell, Loris slipped quietly into Lena's room, torn by hesitation that he had decided to tell her the truth. Dwit was developing a drug that would enslave her will forever. But before he could speak, his eyes froze on the marks around her neck. Bite marks? The scent in the air was different now. Her blood carried a faint trace of desire. His thoughts twisted in disbelief. No, it can't be. She was supposed to be pure. No one, especially Dwit, deserves her. His voice trembled as he spoke. Before I tell you, could you, just once more, touch me like before? Lena froze. What? Dwit just left and now his butler barges in asking me to touch him. What is he playing at? A chill ran down her spine. Is this some kind of trap? A setup for Dwit to walk in and catch us? She knew too well how twisted the Vampire King could be. If he saw this, he might really drag a few men in to entertain her as punishment. The Loris she'd first met had been calm and courteous, but the man standing before her now felt unhinged. Could he truly have two separate personalities? Lena straightened up coldly. No, if you have something to say, say it. Otherwise, get out. Whatever his reasons, she knew she couldn't trust him. Not with her life and certainly not with her heart. This isn't a trade, Loris whispered, forcing his voice steady. I just need you to believe me. Then, as if making peace with his guilt, he told her everything. Dwit's plan, the drug, and the real reason she had been kept inside the castle. Lena's scalp tingled as she listened. She had given herself to Dwit completely, body and soul, and yet he still chose to deceive her. A cold smile curved her lips. Fine, then. Let's see how he handles being toyed with in return. Please, Miss Lena, Loris pleaded, desperation cracking his voice. Leave him. Don't let yourself become one of his bed slaves. Lena narrowed her eyes. Why are you suddenly helping me, Loris? Do you really think I'd still trust you after everything? She abruptly changed the subject. Then tell me, who was behind the vampire uprising? Loris froze. That question hit the very wound he had buried. The night he had written that letter, the one urging Maid Emma to assassinate Lena. He stammered a vague excuse, but her expression had already turned icy. She didn't believe him. Not anymore. Then do exactly as Dwit commanded, she said with a calm, dangerous smile. Create that drug. The one that destroys reason and turns people into puppets. Loris hesitated, trembling slightly. As you wish. As he turned to leave, guilt gnawed at him. She knows, he thought she must know. But with what he'd done, what right did he have to expect forgiveness? Just as he reached the door, her voice stopped him. Lena smiled, soft yet sharp. Thank you, Loris. Next time you have news like this, please do tell me again. Then she blew him a teasing kiss. For a moment, his heart almost forgot how to beat. The butler's heart bloomed with foolish joy, Lena's soft smile replaying again and again in his mind. After the door shut, he lingered in the hallway, lost in thought. She's so warm, so kind. Dwit doesn't deserve someone like her. Then came the dangerous thought that if I could restrain Dwit, lock him away, Lena would finally be safe. Yes, if he's imprisoned, she'll have no reason to leave. She'll belong to me and Loris forever. But what he didn't know was that Lena had already begun to doubt him. His reaction earlier had been too strange, too nervous. She pieced it together. Emma had targeted me from the start. Both she and the butler had the same hostility. They must have colluded back then. By now, Lena had devised a new, careful plan. One that would allow her to leave the castle for good without alarming anyone. Deep in the underground corridor, Loris questioned his darker half. Are we truly going to betray our master? Even if we imprison him, how can you be sure Miss Lena will choose to stay? Mori snarled. If you're too scared, then hand over the body. I'll do it myself. No, Loris replied firmly. This week I have control. And Miss Lena is free. She's magnificent, that we must respect her will. He hesitated, voice dropping low. But our master values her blood, that it can awaken something buried beneath this castle. Something ancient and twisted. Mori sneered. And here I thought you were the obedient, rule-bound gentleman. Guess you're finally done pretending. Loris's tone softened. A true gentleman's vow is to protect the one he loves, even if it means treason. With that, he turned toward the cracked stone wall their master had shattered days ago. Time to repair what he broke, he whispered. A patrolling imp heard a faint noise echoing from the corridor. Curious, it crept closer, only to run into Loris. Loris's first words were a sneer. Your uniform's filthy. Try maintaining a proper noble image next time. The imp clenched its teeth. Damn hypocrite, that if the vampire king weren't protecting you, I'd have torn you apart long ago. Meanwhile, the young werewolf hid in the shadows, scanning every corner for clues, trying to find where Dwit might be hiding Lena. He slammed his fist against a damaged section of wall, and to his shock, the wall was hollow. On the other side stood Loris. Learning that Dwit planned to spend 2 more hours with Lena tonight, Loris proposed a deal to the werewolf: join forces, capture Dwit, and lock him away once and for all. Elsewhere, Lena once again found herself serving the vampire king. Dwit gazed at the portrait she'd painted of him, smiling with rare satisfaction. Lena forced a polite smile while thinking, how could anyone praise something that ugly? Truly, self-love knows no limits. The memory of her childhood flashed across her mind. After her father's death, her mother had dreamed of marrying her into nobility. Too bad, Lena mused bitterly. I turned out far better at fighting than painting. Dwit noticed Lena's mind drifting and suddenly lifted her up, his tone teasing. What are you thinking about? Startled, Lena shook her head quickly. Sensing her panic, his grin deepened. He was clearly in an unusually good mood. Then stay with me longer tonight. 2 more hours. Before she could answer, his lips were already on hers. The air grew thick with feverish desire. Yet soon, impatience overtook him. Too slow, too hesitant, too distant. 3 days, he thought. That's all I gave Loris. But a competent butler should finish the drug tonight. Once that potion was complete, he would never again have to worry about Lena escaping. Stroking her cheek, he murmured darkly, say something sweet. Do you love me? Tell me you do. Lena instantly caught on, whispering obediently, Master, I love you so much. If a day had 48 hours, I'd spend twice as long loving you. But Dwit's face slowly hardened. The magnetic pull he usually felt wasn't there. Her words were hollow, like echoes with no soul. The more she spoke, the emptier his chest became. That emptiness twisted into hunger, his possessiveness erupted. He bit into her neck, drinking deeply, devouring her warmth as if to erase his own despair. Lena blushed furiously. No matter how fake her words were, the marks he left on her skin were all too real. After hours of madness, Dwit's body was covered in scratches and bruises. He looked utterly satisfied, his mood soaring. Grinning with pleasure, he waved his hand, and rewarded her with an entire mountain of gold and silver. Lena's eyes widened at the sight. The Queen of Ely's crown, paintings from the Norman era, mountains of gems and priceless antiques. If I could just get out of this castle. This fortune could buy me a lifetime of freedom. To her surprise, Dwit smiled smugly. There are hundreds more mountains of gold like this in my chambers. Lena's heart tensed. He's plotting something, she thought, watching the cunning gleam in his eyes. Besides, none of this matters. I can't even leave the castle. What use are treasures in a cage? Quickly shifting to a softer tone, she flattered him. Master, your affection means more to me than any gift. Your love is all I desire. But deep down she was already calculating. If I ever get the chance to escape, maybe I'll stop by this room first and take a few things on my way out. Dwit glared at her, his tone sharp and possessive. Nothing at all. Is it because you don't want to owe me, or because you're planning to leave the moment I look away? Lena froze, startled that he had seen through her thoughts. She hurried to deny it, but his voice only grew harsher. So I was right. You do want to leave. Don't even think about it. He grabbed her, crushing his lips against hers, the kiss laced with anger and desperation. Lena struggled in his arms, her breath trembling. Master, you're hurting me. Dwit finally lost control, forcing Lena back against the piles of gold, his fury and desire twisting into something dark and unrecognizable. Her voice echoed through the chamber, trembling, yet powerless to stop the madness consuming him. He grabbed a strand of pearls, binding her wrists as he whispered, "You belong to no one but me." "Lena, I won't allow you to want nothing," he growled, the words sounding half like a curse, half like a plea. After a long, harrowing night, Lena slowly dressed, her eyes distant and cold. Then came Dwit's calm, chilling words, "Let's get married." Her heart faltered, but reason returned. He's lost his mind completely. This is my chance. By his routine, she had 10 minutes before he'd notice she was gone. Emma's desire for Dwit and her jealousy toward Lena burned deeply. If she truly could control the vampires, Lena could use that chaos to her advantage. Once Dwit was distracted, she would finally have her window to escape. She had already located the weakest point in the castle's barrier last time. Only now did she remember the young werewolf. Had he managed to flee? As she walked down the dim corridor, faint whispers drifted through the air, maids gossiping, and all of them gathered together. Stepping into the hall, Lena instantly drew their ire. A sharp-tongued maid, AG, glared at her. "You dare show your face here, filthy woman?" Lena's eyes swept the room. Emma was nowhere to be found. The other maids exchanged puzzled looks, finally realizing Emma had been missing for quite some time. Disguised as AG, Emma forced a nervous smile. "Don't tell me you've been cast aside and came begging me to plead for you?" Lena caught the tremor in her tone, her mind already spinning. Perfect. It didn't matter who started the chaos, as long as it burned hot enough. With a faint smile she said, "So eager to see me thrown out. How disappointing for you. I'm still standing." The surrounding maids burst out in anger. "Don't think being the master's favorite gives you the right to act so high and mighty. Once you fall out of favor, you'll regret it." AG stepped closer, her smile cold. "Or maybe you've already lost his favor. You're just pretending to be strong." Lena met her gaze calmly. "If you want to try me, go ahead, but don't forget, when Dwit finds out, you'll be the one punished." AG let out a mocking laugh. Her tone suddenly turned venomous. "You're just a filthy-blooded human. Even if he favors you, how long can it last? Do you really think he'd die for you? You're nothing but a noisy little toy." The others were about to attack when Lena silently counted down. 3 seconds until Dwit's arrival. "Enough. All of you stop." The command cut through the hall like a blade. Dwit stood at the doorway, fury blazing in his eyes. Lena's lips curved slightly, punctual as ever. She could already imagine the gossip that would spread across the castle afterward. AG immediately plastered on a charming smile and hurried forward. "My lord, you're here. I've been waiting for you." Her confidence radiated. After all, she now possessed a beauty that few could rival. To everyone's shock, Dwit didn't even glance at AG. His voice was sharp and cold. "Get out of my sight." He strode straight to Lena, his tone harsh. "Didn't I give you a private chamber? Why are you here? You don't move without my command." Lena lowered her eyes, feigning fragility. I didn't want to stay there anymore." His tone grew tense. "Give me a reason." Lena's lashes trembled. "I'm only human. Someday your favor will fade. If you keep treating me differently, the others will hate me. I'd rather serve you as they do. It's safer that way." Dwit went silent, then suddenly pulled her into his arms. "Then marry me. Once you're my wife, no one will ever dare touch you." The hall fell silent. AG felt as if thunder had struck her. Lena, that woman, had deceived the master into giving her the title of bride. Her nails dug into her palms. "I awakened the curse, gained eternal beauty. Yet he still doesn't see me. Why? Why only her?" Dwit carried Lena back to his chamber, unbuttoning his shirt. She hadn't expected his obsession. Barely an hour had passed and he wanted her again. Pinned beneath him, Lena panicked. "Already? I haven't even rested." Then softly, "Are you truly going to marry me? Like humans do, through wealth and poverty, sickness and health, never parting?" The question struck him silent. He guided her hand to his chest. "I have no such vows, but understand this. Life or death, you'll never leave me." Then, do you love me? Devitt hesitated, then gave a low chuckle. Love. You think I'd love a human? Still, your scent, it's intoxicating. He leaned close, breathing her in, eyes dark and fevered. Lena's heart sank. So marriage is just another chain, she whispered. Then let me say something you'd like to hear. He fed from her again, feeling tears spill down her hand. I think I've fallen for you, she murmured while he continued tracing her skin with his lips. Finally, he looked up. Lena spoke softly. I lost my father when I was little. People always bullied me. No one's ever treated me the way you do. You protect me, spoil me, love me endlessly. I love you, my lord. Her words dripped with tenderness, though calculation gleamed in her eyes. Just as Devitt bent closer, the door burst open. The butler rushed in, breathless. My lord, there's trouble. Devitt's fury was instant. Who gave you permission to interrupt me? It's urgent, the butler reported anxiously. Someone's broken into the basement. Devitt's brows furrowed, but he had no choice but to stop. Before leaving, he pressed a brief kiss to Lena's forehead. Be good, wait for me. As the door closed, a faint, twisted smile curved Lena's lips. Everything is going according to plan. When I loosen the chain, my dear hound, will you come running? You can come out now, she whispered. He's gone. From behind the curtain, a pair of wolf ears appeared. The loyal, wide-eyed young werewolf who adored her. Lena assumed he caused the disturbance below, but he shook his head quickly. No, it wasn't me. It was part of the plan I made with the butler. Go to Lady Lena's room first, he said. I'll lure Devitt away. Before he could move, footsteps echoed beyond the door. Someone heading straight toward the cursed chamber. Mori appeared, grim-faced. It's Emma. I once told her. The blood ritual could awaken the disaster and grant power. And she had succeeded. AG was Emma all along. Loris's expression shifted. Maybe we don't have to harm the master. There might still be a way for Lena to gain her freedom. Before Devitt returned to his chamber, the young werewolf had already slipped inside. When Lena entered, she instantly spotted a twitching wolf tail behind the curtains. Thankfully, her quick-thinking crying act drew Devitt's attention elsewhere. Upon hearing that the intruder was a woman with violet hair and a matching dress, Lena's mind froze for a moment. It had to be her. The werewolf described a force so intense that no one could approach it. Perhaps that was why Devitt kept reinforcing the castle. Before leaving, Lena planned to grab some gold for her escape and take a look at the secret chamber to uncover Devitt's weakness. At that moment, the Vampire King and the butler arrived at the basement, only to find it empty. Master, you forbade anyone from entering here, the butler said nervously. I couldn't disobey your order, so I could only. Devitt ordered him to leave, then growled coldly, Who did you lure into this place? A mysterious power surged through the air, followed by a mocking laugh. It's been so long since you visited me, and that's your first line. I've been trapped by your magic, unable to leave my chamber. Whom could I possibly lure? Why couldn't they have come to me on their own? Maybe your lovely fiancé prefers my company. Devitt's fury was visible to the eye. Dream on. She would never love a disaster like you. Did your last resurrection drain too much power, giving you a chance to speak again? The voice sneered. And what if it was her who came to me? After all, we share the same handsome face, but my personality is far more charming. That line shattered Devitt's restraint. If she dares betray me, he roared, I'll kill her myself. He turned sharply to leave, only to run straight into Lena. Lena gazed up at him softly, her voice tender as she murmured, Master. Devitt frowned, his tone low. Didn't I tell you to wait in the room? Hiding in the corner, the young werewolf covered his mouth in shock, while Lena silently watched the two men leave together. The young werewolf couldn't take his eyes off Lena. She frowned slightly. What? Do you think I'm a fake? The werewolf panicked, blurting out, I can tell, Miss Lena is one of a kind. He was simply terrified by that mysterious power. Not only the face but even the scent had been perfectly replicated. He had thought Lena would be happy once she escaped the Vampire King, yet now he felt something missing in his heart. Even Devitt had been fooled after spending so much time with her. For them to mistake her so easily, perhaps this was heaven's gift, a rare chance. Lena was about to make her move when the werewolf caught her arm. Aren't we going to check the chamber first? Lena hesitated. The power beneath the castle was overwhelming, and though Devitt kept it restrained, It had still aided Aegis. Could it really be out of kindness? She murmured. She shook her head and said softly, there must have been a price that if we rush in recklessly, it might be even more dangerous. Hearing that, the werewolf's eyes sparkled with admiration. Lena, you're so smart. If I had your brains, I'd have graduated from my trainee phase ages ago. Lena stroked the werewolf's cheek and said gently, your bravery and kindness are more precious to me than any other skill. The werewolf's heart raced. He had always thought himself the dullest child among his pack and had never been praised like this. After Lena's touch, he felt a sudden warmth spread through his body. Simply from her hand on his cheek, his heart pounded uncontrollably. Lena asked with concern, are you all right? And then noticed his pupils had turned yellow. At that moment, AG, disguised to look like Lena, persistently asked the Vampire King, are you really going to marry her? The Vampire King replied coldly, what he said he would do. Hearing the confirmation, AG was overjoyed. She thought to herself that she must make Lena see this. The master is going to wed me. Even if the body is hers, it will be I who marries him. She begged the king to announce it before all the bloodline, then threw herself into his arms, determined that everyone should know she would wed the master she loved. The king was pleased by such bold eagerness. AG, for the first time, tasted the softness in his gaze. Rage curled within AG. Damn her. If I had another chance, I'd kill her. But that chance was gone. Everything now had been bought with lives. Since AG's visage still couldn't fully ensnare Dwit, she had no choice but to beseech the disaster power to change her face once more. When the disaster learned that Dwit intended to marry that human woman, it was first stunned, then sneered. Dwit, drowning in his own lustful games. I'd like to see what kind of creature that human is. It ordered AG to visualize Lena's face in her mind. Only then could the transformation be complete. Meanwhile, Butler Loris gathered all the servants, preparing for the Vampire King's public announcement. Upon seeing AG, he feigned surprise. Miss Lena, that dress you're wearing, isn't that the one you left in the secret chamber? Dwit's face darkened instantly. You went into the chamber? He demanded. AG panicked and shook her head in denial. Still disguised as Lena, AG snapped angrily, you're talking nonsense. Dwit recalled the disaster's words. What if the one who came to me was her? He immediately concluded she had betrayed him and clutched AG by the throat. No matter how she pleaded, gasping, Master, I love you, he ignored her completely. At that moment, Lena and the young werewolf, who had failed to flee, hid in a nearby corner. Hole, what are you doing? She hissed, but his strength was overwhelming. His hand brushed somewhere it shouldn't have, sliding across her skin. Lena couldn't cry out for fear of attracting the guards. Instead, she punched him hard. The werewolf snapped back to his senses, staring pitifully. What happened? Lena, fuming, put her hands on her hips. You almost ate me. The werewolf awkwardly changed the subject. Then he noticed a deep gash on Lena's thigh, her fresh blood dripping steadily onto the ground. In the underground chamber, the disaster controlled everything. A trace of aphrodisiac magic was enough to push events its way. How foolish that werewolf remained. It inhaled the scent of Lena's blood, smirking. Sweet human girl, I've given you a perfect double, one no one will see through. How will you thank me? Use yourself as the offering. The werewolf hastily wrapped a bandage around her leg, murmuring endless apologies. His claws, made for the kill, left wounds that refused to heal. During the bandaging, he gave in to an instinct. His mouth lowered toward her wound. Only the saliva of a werewolf could close it. Lena gasped from the sting. The sensation was strange, almost unbearable. She told herself over and over. Hole is just an innocent boy. This is only to heal me. Soon, the wound began to close. The werewolf said he needed to return to his pack and asked Lena to come with him. Lena hesitated. Hole immediately apologized, flustered. I'm sorry, do you already have other plans? Before entering the castle, I was a fugitive after a failed spy mission, Lena said quietly. Even if I escape now, I can't go back to human society. Finally, she nodded. All right, I'll go with you. Since werewolves and vampires are sworn enemies, maybe there's a way to destroy the Vampire King for good. Hole took her hand and they ran together toward the exit. Behind them echoed Dwit's furious, heart-rending roar. Lena couldn't stop herself from glancing back. The butler bowed beside the raging king and said softly, My lord, Please restrain your grief that a human body cannot rise from the dead. The vampire king could not accept the outcome that he roared for everyone to leave and fell to his knees, clutching the false Lena's body, crying, I won't let you die. Lena, wake up, you're not allowed to leave me. The real Lena watched the scene unfold from afar. He looked truly tormented. Was that grief for her death? Or was he simply mourning the loss of his favorite toy? The young werewolf noticed her sorrow and asked quietly, Sister, do you hate Dwit? Lena hesitated, then answered coldly, Of course that he's my father's murderer. How could I not? A flicker of confusion crossed Lena's heart. Could the vampire king truly have fallen for her? She gave a bitter laugh and shook her head. How ridiculous. Gripping the young werewolf's hand, she whispered, Come on, Dwit. The next time we meet will be the day you die. Soon they crawled out through a hidden tunnel, but the guards spotted them. The werewolf lunged forward to shield her. Lena didn't dare look back. She kept running east, the wind slicing past her ears, unsure how long she'd been fleeing. Then she glanced over her shoulder, and froze. Dwit was right behind her. Dwit's hand closed around Lena's throat, his other hand sliding roughly along her waist. She struggled, but his strength was overwhelming. Suddenly, another vampire king appeared before her. Lena froze in shock. If that's Dwit, then who is the man behind him? The newcomer smirked, his tone dripping with mockery. What's wrong? Never tried being intimate with another man in front of him? Or perhaps, you want him to join us? His voice darkened, laced with twisted amusement. I despise it, but your body's reactions are fascinating. Yet in that instant, the face in Lena's mind wasn't his. It was Dwit's. The realization made the man's eyes blaze with fury. You dare think of him? Die, he roared. Lena snapped awake, realizing it had only been a dream. After making sure she was truly safe, she tried to get up and discovered her trousers were soaked through. The werewolf, seeing her flushed face, quickly turned away. Lena embarrassedly asked him not to look and said she needed to change. Though it had been only a dream, it felt disturbingly real, almost as if it had just happened. The werewolf sniffed the air, sensing it wasn't sweat, and asked, puzzled, Do humans have mating seasons too? From the werewolf, Lena learned that this house had been arranged by Loris, prompting suspicions about the butler's true motives. Lena tidied her trousers and prepared to leave. She remained wary of Loris, who had once conspired with the maids to make trouble for her. She simply couldn't trust him. More importantly, Loris knew the secret of her staged death, and Lena could think of only one countermeasure. Loris saw the cabin door wide open and immediately sensed something was wrong. Inside, he found the werewolf unconscious. When the boy came to, he stammered out, Lena's been taken. Meanwhile, Lena looked back at the forest and the distant castle, breathing deeply. She was finally free. The vampire king, upon learning that his beloved had betrayed him, was consumed with rage that he seized her by the throat. Hearing her whisper, Master, I love you, he showed not a trace of mercy. I'll give you one last chance to explain, he said coldly. Before Lena could speak, an invisible force pierced her heart. Blood poured from her eyes, nose, and mouth. I love you, she murmured one final time before collapsing in his arms. The king's eyes widened in horror. He roared in anguish. He hadn't struck that hard. How could this happen? The butler, after checking her frail human body, concluded she'd died of sudden cardiac failure. But the king refused to accept it. He would summon human doctors. As he reached for her hand to kiss it goodbye, he realized her ring was missing. He had placed a locator spell within that ring. Sensing its signal, he froze. The trace came from the mountain below. The human town was bustling with noise and light. Unbeknownst to anyone, Lena's missing ring had been picked up by one of the dismissed maids. We didn't get to take anything valuable when we were sent away, one maid complained. The master's just blinded by that human girl. He'll come to his senses and call us back. Sitting not far away, Lena quietly observed. Thanks to the werewolf's gear that concealed her scent, she'd successfully disguised herself as a vampire. Before she could feel relieved, the vampire king himself arrived, flanked by his guards. The maids gasped and bowed in awe as he passed. Lena ducked into a shadowed alley, her heart pounding. Did Howl say something? She wondered. No, not yet. The king's gaze turned icy as he spotted the maid holding Lena's ring. You dare covet what isn't yours? He hissed. The maid dropped to her knees. Forgive me, my lord. I found it in the castle's secret passage that I swear it's the truth. A secret passage? The king's expression darkened. At that moment the town gates were sealed by his guards. Lena had no choice but to leap from a second-story balcony to escape. She landed hard, right on top of a silver-haired man.